Hello and welcome. Good evening to Zoom Racing League Division 2 race number 9 here at Shanghai International Circuit in China. My name is Luke, also known as Kaganis or Red Panda Pigeon Slayer. Sadly, Nathan is unable to join us tonight, so I'll be alone. Sadly, we don't have track information, so going directly on to the driver standings. John Ranger is leading after 8 races, followed by Itzrai and Josh Mudler. Those three boys still get the chance for winning the Division 2 champion. So as Jack Fletcher on P4, Blake on P5, Nick Hamrick on P6, combined YouTuber Matteo Thomas Babsby and Chap Tucker is closing top 10. Trent H. Mack on P11 and 12, Eric McNerney, Sid Labib, that's our top 15, Merck on 16, Big Mama Frank on 17, Arrows 18, Spanini 19, Sway on P20 with only 6 points scored, but he attended only one race. Following to the constructors, Mercedes is leading, followed by Ferrari, Alfa Romeo, Williams, Red Bull. That's our top 10. Alfa Tauri on P6, McLaren, then Aston Martin, Alpine, and Haas is closing the pack. Couple of words about Chinese track. It's to be exact 5.45 kilometer or 3.38 miles, 16 turns, and following to the track because we see drivers already in. It's raining and it's going to be intermediate conditions during this qualifying session, so probably drivers won't be too happy about this. First one to set a provisional time will be Blake Stevenson in that beauty McLaren. He's now running through first DRS on the massive back straight, going to turn number 4 to hairpin at as turn number 14, then turns 15 and 16 to start a lap. Track itself gets to DRS zones, but it seems like they won't be using drag reduction system during this qualifying session, and let's right on board with Blake Stevenson, who is going to turns 1 and 2. We see Alfa Romeo car close in front of him, but hopes that won't be a problem for McLaren driver. Alfa Romeo is getting out of the way when McLaren is heading through turn 3, now turn 4, a little bit of slide, even more than just a little bit slide at the exit of turn 4, so his lap won't be valid. So let's jump into Chap Tucker, who was driving a second. Clean exit out of turn 4, now to the hairpin turn number 6, obviously purple sector 1 for Mercedes driver, heading to SS turns number 7 and 8, then using 5th and 6th gear, gentle braking to get proper run for turns number 9 and 10. So far looks still good, just minor counter steering. Turns 11 now, normally out of turn 12 we're going fully flat, but we see Mercedes driver is lifting a bit, that is understandable because of track conditions. Massive back straight and heavy braking to hairpin turn number 14. Tiny turn number 15, and last braking to turn 16. Chap Tucker is going to settle lap, and this will be 1:43.6. Greg Stevenson decided to finish his lap, but we see he's losing over almost 15 seconds. Apologies, almost 13 seconds to leading Chap Tucker after a mistake he made. Enrique McNerney retiring out of the session. I do believe he did that in pit lane. So possibly he's serving a quali ban. Following with Arrow on the back straight to set a lap time. Meanwhile, Mark setting P2, Trent on P3. Provisionally, of course, Labib P4, Big Mama Frank on P6. John Ranger is retiring from the session after a mistake, and Steven Alvarez with 5 place grid penalty for that incident. I do believe we could check what happened from Shripov, who is going really deep to turn 14. Surprisingly, this lap wasn't invalidated. Sponini, meanwhile, with provisional pole position with 1:43.6, just 22 milliseconds faster comparing to Mercedes driver. Not the best quality so far for McLaren's. Wife Poros, aka Josh Madler, with new fastest lap, but not for long because Chap Tucker is taking his provisional P1 already. Matteo on P4, who wasn't attending last week, is faster than his teammate by about half a second, so that's quite a big gap. Steven Alvarez, after that incident with John Ranger, is still on the track, so no heavy damage on that Red Bull car. And only driver is remaining in pit lane is Sway. See, because I do believe we see one of the Alpines to finish his lap, or maybe it's Williams. It's Williams of Arrow to finish his second run. Close, using all the curve at the exit, crossing the line, improving a bit, placing himself on P11 so far, just 4 milliseconds behind Labib on P10. Is it Steven Alvarez on the end of the lap? Yes, it is, but it's only P14 for Red Bull driver. So the question is, what kind of weather we will see in a couple of minutes at the end of quali, and obviously what kind of weather we will see during the race itself. Apologies for pausing the game. It looks like, at least in theory, we are going to have full dry race, but it might be mistaken. In telemetry, let's see, is Labib going to continue his run? Yes, it is, and he's crossing the line with minor improvement, placing himself above Jack Fletcher on P9. I can sway without lap times. Big Mama Frank improved himself and jumping from P14 to P9. That's good improvement for the Red Bull driver. Now plenty of people on the back straight. And Spanini will be the first one to complete this lap. But he is heading to the pit lane. How about his teammate? Close behind him. He is going to the pit lane as well. We see Alfa Romeo. That's Josh Muddler. And he is improving himself, but still stays on P2. He's right crossing the line, improving himself by over 10 seconds, and it's P3 for Williams driver. Impressive improvement. I have to say, Blake Stevenson setting second fastest time of the session so far, placing himself between Chap Tucker and Josh Muddler. And it might be just my imagination, but I do believe it's raining much lighter comparing to what we've seen at the start of this session. But it is heading to the pit lane. We see Alpha Tauri is going out of the pit lane. Jack Fletcher is on the lap. He's using green stripe tires, so it's still intermediate conditions. And I do believe it won't change until the end of the session. Merck on the outlap on intermediate tires as well. Arrow is still on the track, still going to finish this lap, improving by nearly half a second, and it's P12 for Williams driver so far. Plenty of position change. Sway decided to retire from the session. Max still without a run, still without a lap. Chaptaker going to start his another run on fresh compound. But let's stay a bit longer with Blake Stevenson. He is not improving, over 6 seconds slower compared to his previous best time, so let's stay a bit longer with Chaptaker, or maybe let's jump into Jack Fletcher, who is, no, it's not Jack Fletcher, it's Matteo, but Jack Fletcher will be the first one out of this pack to start a second run on fresh intermediate tires, and what he will be able to do. For now, he is 1 second off the pace, comparing to the leading Chaptaker in that Mercedes. Minor improvement after sector 1, just over 4 hundredths of the second. I have to say, personally, I'm not a fan of racing at this track, but I really like the views we have around here in this game. Fletcher is going to finish sector 2 on the braking 2, turn 11, improving by over half a second, nearly 6 tenths. Now he is going to the back straight, and it looks like Matteo decided to slow down to give him a bit of tow. Please at the exit of turn 13 to the back straight. Chaptaker improving his time, and he is the first one who broke the 143 barrier. 142.498. What will be Jack Fletcher's response for that? Ferrari driver is going to cross the line, and it's 142.9, so second one to break the 143 barrier, but still it's nearly half a second lost to leading Chaptaker. Matteo on Merck is improving. 2P6. Matteo just started his lap. Trent is behind him, so Mack is in front of him, and his first attempt will be invalidated. Let's jump into Steven Alvarez on the lap. So far, he's struggling with pace a bit, improving his previous best time by nearly 3/10 at Sector 2, but it's still way too low improvement to place himself higher at this body session. Run through the back straight using 8th gear, top speed with 293 kilometers per hour. I believe he wasn't even using the battery at this lap. So Mac will be... oh yes, indeed. Mac is going to cross the line, but his lap will be invalidated. But just curious what time he was at, 1:44.7. So that would be only ahead of Steven Alvarez. Plenty of drivers. Matteo improving just a bit in front of his teammate with 42.914. Labib placing himself at P4 so far. Big Mama Frank for P7. And still only 3 drivers broke that 143 barrier. Will we see more? That's what I'm curious about. Blake Stevenson on the outlap. On the back straight, it's Shirai on the outlap, pretty close behind that McLaren driver. And Mac, game suggesting us it was purple sector 2 for the Aston Martin driver. A little bit of slide on turn 14, but it looks like he's trying to get a bit of toe from a try on his outlap. Top speed with 316 kilometers per hour. Heavy braking to hairpin at turn 14. And just one minor braking to turn 16, using all the curb, all the track. And Mac is placing himself on P5, really close behind Labib. The Ferrari drivers are going to finish their laps, and Jack Fletcher placing himself on P1 with 142.308. Oh, really deep onto turn 1 for his attempt. White Poros, aka Josh Madler, placing himself on P4, but Merck is overtaking him immediately. We have 6 drivers below 143, and I do believe we can see even more. Let's check how the Alpine boys doing on their last attempt. We see Mercedes driver is going to cross the line. It's Chaptaker who won't improve himself, and he's won't be starting higher than P3 because Jack Fletcher and Trent and that Aston Martin managed to go faster than Mercedes driver. Blake Stevenson will be the first one to complete the lap. Out of this pack, McLaren driver is going through turn 16, a little bit of deep. Lap wasn't invalidated, improving himself to P4. Behind him is going Mac, placing himself at P7. Itchry was improving, and Itchry is placing himself at P8. I do believe Matteo will be the next one to cross the line. He wasn't improving after Sector 2, and he's not improving after Sector 3. Wild Horse on P3, overtaking Chaptaker by exactly 1/10 of the second. Combined YouTuber placing himself behind his teammate on P7. Mert is not improving, but Big Mama Frank find that just a big gap between both Alpha Towers and placing their Labib on P9 behind BMF. Basgot placing himself on P6. So that's our starting grid: Jack Fletcher, Trent, Wild Poros, Chaptaker, Blake Stevenson, Basgat, Merck, Big Mama Frank, Labib. Combined YouTuber is our top 10 on the grid. Arrow P11, Mac P12, It's Right P13, Mateo P14, Spanini P16. Steven Alvarez with 5 grid penalties, so he will be starting behind Enrique McNeely, Sway, and John Ranger. And we'll be following to the track shortly. And the question is the weather. What the weather will be. It looks like it's dry and sunny at the race start, so drivers will be pleased to say that. We are waiting for them to set the strategies, and I hope we won't see chaos onto turn 1. Connection issues for a couple of drivers, as I see. And we're waiting for, so we will be back shortly because of technical issues. are back here once again while waiting to all players load up to the lobby and to start the Chinese Grand Prix here in Zoom Racing League Division 2 first race of this weekend. Race itself is going to be dry, and that's a good news. We can expect more battles. So let's speak about best overtaking spots. In my personal opinion, that's braking zones to turn 6, turn 11 and turn 14, driving through turns 1 and 2 side by side and looking for a chance to make a move. There is possible as well, obviously with that help for DRS or drag reduction system as you prefer, but if you be forced to go too tight, too narrow, or too wide, it might end really bad for you. Drivers are checking the strategies, last communications with their engineers, and here we are. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights, and Chinese Grand Prix is started. It looks like good start for Trent on the lead, going to the inside, 3 wide with Fletcher and Wild Poros, who is overtaking Jack Aston Martin, but Aston Martin is fighting back. Plenty of moves behind. Sway is overtaking, is side by side with John Ranger, Spanini side by side with Aero, combined YouTuber side by side with La Beep. And somehow I do see Steven Alvarez in Haas. Now because Nick Hamrick is joined to this session. That explains a lot. Something I was unable to understand until I seen the Nick Hamrick and that Red Bull car back. So main Red Bull driver is back to the car, and actually he is fighting with Steven Alvarez and Enrique McNuby. Meanwhile, Wild Forest is attacking Jack Fletcher, and it's race lead for Alfa Romeo driver before end of turn 1 after starting from P3. Aero on the back of the grid is fighting side by side with Steven Alvarez. Let's check, is it everything clean between those two? Yes, it is. Aero is behind Haas driver, and it looks like leading 4 is starting to running out from the rest of the grid. It's right, it's fighting with Big Mama Frank. That's battle for position 7, and Williams driver is ahead of that Red Bull. Merck is really close and looking for his chance to overtake Red Bull driver as well, but got pretty far behind Blake Stevenson, and he's side by side with It's right now, and it looks like he is losing positions to Williams driver. Now It's right need to push to get onto the DRS zone to Blake Stevenson within 1 lap. Blake Stevenson is closing to leading 4. John Ranger already on P13, and he is chasing Spanini. Enrique McNuby not that good, and Aero is looks like Aero is making a mistake at turn between turns 12 and 13. He's going around losing a couple of positions. Mateo is overtaking Merck. But so far so clean, and we are happy to see that. Blake Stevenson managed to close the gap, but he is losing already with John Ranger. He is doing stunning job on that hard compound. Actually, speaking about compounds, let's quickly check what tires these guys decided to start. So Wild Porous, Jack Fletcher, and Chap Tucker on P leading to, and P4 Chap Tucker decided to go for soft booties. Trent on P3, Itray on P6, Mateo on P9, and Arrow on P20 currently starting on medium booties, and the rest of the grid on hards. I have to say that's surprising a bit. Not a fun using hards at this track. It's too unpredictable, I have to say. Chap Tucker is close to Trent. But on slower sections, he is losing a bit of time. And we see two drivers side by side. It was Spanini and Nick Hamrick. I do believe, yes, they are side by side. Chap Tucker is overtaking Trent for P3, so soft runners are leading the race. Arrow is not Arrow, apologies. John Ranger is overtaking Labib. Spanini is conceding positions to Nick Hamrick. And Chap Tucker is owner of new fastest lap of the race with 134.5. Sway, it looks like Sway starting to struggle a bit. Arrow lost himself completely somewhere behind all the pack. Blake Stevenson started dropping a lot to leading 4, and it's right. Shot him a bit. He is in the DRS zone, in DRS range, behind McLaren on P5. Big Mama Frank is fighting for his life to get that DRS on Basket on P7. Otherwise, he will be under huge pressure from Matteo. Young driver in Ferrari who missed last race, so he is hungry for the podium, possibly. Blake Stevenson is struggling, and thanks to him, we have one huge DRS train all the way down from P5 all the way down to P15, because Enrique McNibby, it looks like he won't have DRS, and Matteo is attacking Big Mama Frank. He's diving to the inside, and Merkos is looking to place for himself there as well, but he had to fall off of this battle to avoid incident with Red Bull driver. And thanks to that, Basgot runs even more from drivers behind him. But I do believe Matteo got enough pace to catch up. Trent, meanwhile, is fighting hard with Chap Tucker for last podium spot. Chap Tucker is not giving up. He's doing all he can to get use of this soft booties, but we see he is struggling with battery. And I have to say that Chap Tucker is really sensitive for his soft booties. They are in best conditions from all of the soft users. It's a really good job. We see yellow flags. I do believe John Ranger with trouble. He lost a couple of positions. Meanwhile, Trent is overtaking Fletcher and placing himself on P2. Fletcher was out of DRS from leading Alfa Romeo car. Steven Alvarez over 2 seconds. And Enrique McNerney is losing positions. He was overtaking my Mac. He was overtaking my combined YouTuber, wondering what happened to second Alfa Romeo driver. Most of the grid is in Alfa Romeo sandwich right now, and John Ranger is going for another run through the field. Going back to P14. I don't see any damage for Mercedes driver, so that's good for him. Chap Tucker fighting side by side with Fletcher through the S's. And who will be the first to turn 9? It looks like it's Jack Fletcher, who dropped the pace a lot. They are already losing over 2 seconds to leading 2. Trent with stunning pace to catch up to leading White Forest by over half a second within this lap without DRS. You can see on his steering wheel quite a big amount of battery. And it looks like he is going for a move. Trent diving to the inside and way before braking. He's making a move, but White Horse had a chance to make a switch back. Merck is overtaking Big Mama Frank for P9. And Trent is new race leader. Will White Horse be able to counter-attack on braking zone to turn 2 actually? No, he's not. He's going wide and losing time a bit. Big Mama Frank fighting with Merck. Spanini fighting with Labib. They were swapping positions. And it looks like they are dropping time to Nick Hamrick, currently on P11. Merck and Big Mama Frank fighting again. And we do see yellow flags. It's Big Mama Frank. It's Big Mama Frank spinning around, going onto the grass and dropping all the way down to P19, and he was fighting for P9 a few moments ago. It looks like White Porous is dropping a lot of pace to Trent, so that soft tires just starting to die or dropping out. Basgat overtaking Itchrai, and Itchrai is under the pressure from Matteo. Matteo behind Williams driver. He is really close. Who will get the better exit out of turn 13, and who will get a bigger top speed? They are side by side behind them. Labib is dropping plenty of positions. It looks like he made a mistake at start of turn 13. Matteo in front of that Williams of Itchrai. Nick Hamrick behind them, overtaking Merck for P9. And now Matteo won't have DRS, so it's Shrai will try to get that position back here on the run through turn 1 and turn 2. But is he close enough? White Force was too far to make something happen. Merck is taking position back from Mick Hamrick. It's P9, and it's Shrai was just too far back behind that Ferrari driver. We can expect that Chap Tucker might try to make a move on White Poros, because his tires are on way better conditions. Obviously, there is DRS advantage on Alfa Romeo driver, but not that big. And White Poros is out of DRS range on Trent, so Chap Tucker might have a chance to attack here. A little bit of wiggle through turn 13 for Mercedes driver, and he's closing, but I do believe he's too far back behind Alfa Romeo driver, and nothing gonna happen. But Matteo now is trying to attack Basgat, and Arrow making another mistake at the beginning of sector 2, causing yellow flags over there. Matteo is in front of that Alpine car. They are pretty far behind Jack Fletcher and Blake Stevenson's Park, who is fighting for P5 over 3 seconds. Basgat is trying to close up, but he was just too far to make anything happen. Nick Hamrick will try to make a move on Merck, but no, not enough speed. Labib is fighting with Big Mama Frank at the end of the pack for P18 and 18. I do believe Labib was in front of Red Bull driver, so he was just defending his position. They were side by side for a moment, but let's go back for this battle. It's battle for P4 between Jack Fletcher and Blake Stevenson. And actually, that might be shortly battle for even P2. The question is Jack Fletcher able to close in to get the DRS? No, he's not. Error is heading to the pit lane. And Chap Tucker now is close enough. He have a speed, didn't make a mistake. DRS wide open, and he's side by side with White Forest. He's already ahead of Alfa Romeo driver, and Blake Stevenson is taking position from Jack Fletcher. So hard user is overtaking soft user. Those softs just died. I'm afraid. Look how fast Chap Tucker is losing. And Harrow making another yellow flags at the exit of the pit lane. Wondering what happened over there. Harrow on soft booties. So really interesting strategy. He's nearly lapped. And shortly he will see yellow flag combined YouTuber fighting with Steven Alvarez. They are side by side, and it looks like Steven Alvarez is still ahead. With Mac and John Ranger on P12, closing the gap to Spanini, and he will be chasing top 10 really shortly. And wondering what happened during the pole session, but taking the championship of Division 2 just gets really complicated for John Ranger after this session. Wild Force behind Chap Tucker, but he is way too far back on the Mercedes driver to make something happen. McLaren Basgot, that's closest part. Now Nick Hamrick and Merck are closer. But Nick Hamrick was too far back, and John Ranger is overtaking Spanini. That's promotion for P11 for Mercedes driver. Mateo is struggling with closing the pace to Jack Fletcher in front of him. Jack Fletcher is just about to lose that DRS. Merck and Nick Hamrick fighting side by side for turn 1 and turn 2. Nick Hamrick is in front of Alpha Tauri driver. Steven Alvarez is fighting with Mac. That's battle for P14. It looks like Steven Alvarez is ghosting. Mac is doing all he can to make this move happen. Combined YouTuber is waiting for mistake behind them. Mac was trying to go to the inside. He actually did go to the inside and nearly lost the position to Combined YouTuber. Combined YouTuber is nearly side by side with him through turn 7 and 8. Mac is still in front of AlphaTauri on the run through turns 9 and 10. Wild Force lost the cap to Chap Tucker, and now he is under the pressure from Blake Stevenson. Blake Stevenson with that DRS advantage, and he got way better speed on hard compound. Move down. He says thank you very much. I take that podium spot, and Blake Stevenson is driving for the podium for McLaren. Again, Steven Alvarez fighting Chap Tucker, actually going to the pit lane. He was the first one. Jack Fletcher behind him. Chap Tucker. So Wild Force stayed on these soft booties. Wondering how powerful undercut might be, especially that those guys in pit lane
not necessarily will have a clean air in front of them because Labib and Big Mama Frank are closing to them really fast, and it looks like Chap Tucker is going out of the pit lane just in front. Big Mama Frank. Obviously, I do believe Big Mama Frank will be losing the gap quite fast to Chap Tucker. Jack Fletcher behind, combined YouTuber fighting with Steven Alvarez. Oh, they're going alongside on the exit from turn 6 to turn 7. Alvarez is still in front. Let's quickly check what tires decided to pick. Chap Tucker and Fletcher prove on fresh medium booties with 17 laps to go on this race. So they might be struggling at the race end as well. Mateo is defending himself from Basgott. He tried to cover in sideline, but Basgott had way more speed on this back straight, and Mateo is losing P4. Combined YouTuber fighting side by side with Steven Alvarez once again, and this time combined YouTuber is in front. Meanwhile, Wild Poros heading to the pit lane to get rid of this soft booties. And now where he will go, Chap Tucker managed to overtake Labib pretty fast. Fletcher overtook Big Mama Frank, but he will be behind Labib. And where is Wild Poros entering the pit lane behind Fletcher? Way behind Fletcher is over a second. And Fletcher had to fight with Big Mama Frank for positions, so undercut is pretty powerful at this track, or just at the other side. Softs they were using were really bad. Big Mama Frank was in the pit lane already as well, so he was the fourth one. Fletcher fighting with Labib. Labib tried to defend as hard as he could, but it shouldn't happen, especially with way fresher tires on that Ferrari compared to pretty hard booties. We see yellow flags in sector 3. That's Mac. Nick Hamrick fighting with Merck on for P6. Nick Hamrick is still behind Merck, and it's right is heading to the pit lane, trying to see the no damage for any of the drivers. Enrique McNuby in pit lane as well. Chap Tucker with new fastest lap of the race on his fresh mediums booty, so 134 flat for Mercedes driver, and he is overtaking Sway. Great run through the field. Yellow flags on the pit entry. Enrique McNuby is leaving the pit lane on P17. Mac will concede the position to Big Mama Frank, so he will be dropped to P18 after the mistake he made. But let's focus at this battle. Chap Tucker is chasing Steven Alvarez and combined YouTuber. Fletcher have to find a way to overtake Sway without losing time. For now, he is 2 seconds behind McLaren driver. And closing the gap really rapidly. Basgott fighting with Mateo once again, and it's provisional podium for Alpine driver, but obviously Alpine driver have to visit his mechanics, and Chap Tucker is overtaking combined YouTuber for P9, going really deep to turn 14, leaving the track. Combined YouTuber behind him without battery, heading to the pit lane. Wild Poros with new fastest lap 33.8. nearly 10 seconds faster comparing to while he plays on intermediate conditions. Combined YouTuber in pit lane, and he will be just behind Ricky McNewy on P17. John Ranger actually between Spanini and Merck, they were fighting for about P10 if I'm not mistaken, before the pit lane chaos started. Chaptaker obviously still on provisional lead with quite a bit gap ahead of Jack Fletcher and Wild Poros. Wild Poros 2.8 seconds behind him. Actually didn't notice when Wild Poros overtook Fletcher. Fletcher is overtaking Alvarez. Mateo is retaking P3 from Basgat on the back straight, but they are side by side once again. It looks like Mateo is in front now. Yes, he was in just a bit in front on braking zone to turn 16, but Basgat decided to go to the pit lane. So as Nick Hamrick, Merck, and John Ranger. So next four, and I do expect that Trent, Blake Stevenson, and Mateo will visit their mechanics pretty shortly, especially that we have less than 13 laps to go. Let's try back on P9. Basgat on the track again. Mark on the track again. John Ranger on the track again. So P13 for John Ranger. And how many drivers didn't visit their mechanics? It looks like leading 4 didn't do that. And Chaptaker is already super close behind Spanini, and he will be looking for the move over Alpine driver. Apologies for his water. Sway is really close at the end of the pack to Steven Alvarez, and Chaptaker is taking P4 for another time during this race, but now he is on net P1. And Spanini had nothing to defend against. Blake Stevenson is heading to the pit lane. Surprised that Trent decided to stay on the track. Mateo is in the pit lane. And Spanini in the pit lane, so Trent is only one who has to visit his mechanics during this race. Merck as the first victim of track limit penalties is going to top 10 spot, and John Ranger is really close behind him, just over 2 seconds. It's right fighting with Labib. That's battle for P7. But I have to say, pretty great comeback after mistake of Labib. Labib on pretty worn tires. Actually, Labib and Trent is a pair who didn't visit mechanics or yet during this race. I have to surprise to say that John Ranger is losing gap to Merck, and he is defending really hard against Mateo. Mateo is making the pressure on still Division 2 drivers standings leader. Meanwhile, Trent heading to the pit lane, so Chaptaker will be on the race lead for another time. Those overtaking John Ranger, and I believe it was It's Right who overtook Basgat. Wild Poros is going back for a podium spot, so it's Jack Fletcher. Trent is leaving the pit lane actually nearly forcing Blake Stevenson to go wide, Labib in the pit lane as well. So all the drivers was visiting their mechanics already. And look for this. Matteo overtook John Ranger, and John Ranger is dropping the pace to young Ferrari driver. So taking a title just complicated a lot for Mercedes driver. But got really close to Williams in front of him, so is Trent really close to McLaren in front of him. Let's stick with this pair because Link 3 is pretty split and Blake Stevenson is 5 seconds behind them. Trent doesn't looking for move, but Basket is looking for move on its right, and it's moved down. Merck and Matteo and Merck and Nick Hamrick close behind him, and Merck is overtaking Red Bull driver Spanier, overtaking Enrique McNuby. That's battle for P12. Its combined YouTuber is really close to this pair as well. Matteo with new fastest lap 133.6 on soft tires. So young Ferrari driver is flying tonight. Sadly, not the greatest quality session for him. So he is fighting in the middle. Apologies for that. It's already past 3. Over here, Trent is still following really close Blake Stevenson. So we might see some moves over there. With Trent on fresher softs. And wondering how bad tires of leading 3 will be, because Stevenson and Trent, both of them have way fresher tires compared to leaders. So leaders might be dropping the pace. Meanwhile, Trent is making a move down over McLaren driver, and it's P4 for Aston Martin. They try and Merck side by side, and Merck is overtaking, and it looks like Nick Hamrick managed to stick his nose to there as well and took that place from Williams driver. They're really close, and Matteo is closing to them, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 way battle nearly for P6 during this race. Obviously, Merck with the worst situation around there because of that time penalty. And let's see now, will John Ranger be able to join this party as well? A little bit of lockup for Nick Hamrick. We're driving with. And Trent already less than 1 second behind Jack Fletcher. What happened over there? 2 laps ago, I mentioned that Trent and Blake were over 5 seconds behind Ferrari driver. And now look at this. Look how close Trent behind Fletcher is, and he will be attacking. It will be easy move for Aston Martin driver. There is wide open, and he will be carrying way more speed over the Ferrari. Is going back to the racing line, braking just in point to turn 14, and it's moved down. Fletcher is starting to losing the gap quite fast. Basgat fighting with Nick Hamrick for P7. It looks like Red Bull driver got no battery, and Blake Stevenson is overtaking Jack Fletcher on turn 1, placing himself really good, and it's moved down. No chance to counter attack for Ferrari driver. Nick Hamrick is overtaking Merck. That's battle for P7, really close behind Basgat on P6. Matteo actually dropped a bit. No, Matteo didn't drop. Matteo just overtook its right for P9. Its right is dropping the pace to Ferrari driver and John Ranger behind him with no stick onto his gearbox, looking for a chance to move. Merck still really close behind Nick Hamrick, and that's closest and most intensive battle at the track at this point. But Trent already closing this. He was really close to get DRS on Wild Poros to fight for that P2. Wild Poros currently over 4 seconds, lost to the race leader, who is Chap Tucker. And Mercedes, Nick Hamrick is chasing Basgott. Is he able to make a move? No, I do believe he was too far. He is trying to place him on the inside line, but nothing happened over there. And John Ranger finally overtook its right, and it's top 10 position for Mercedes driver after starting P19, I do believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Sway is fighting with Enrique McNeil for P14. And it looks like McLaren is in front. Labib, another fight with Big Mama Frank, but that's really far behind everyone. Battle for P17 and 18. Arrow over 1 minute behind. Actually, everyone. I do believe he was left a few laps ago. Chap Tucker is going for something that might look like a race win, but don't forget about this gentleman, Trent, who is putting a pressure on Wild Poros. He was leading the race by a couple of laps when those trio, Chap Tucker, Wild Poros, and Jack Fletcher, decided to try to undercut, and it looks like overcut for Trent. H works really good side by side with Wild Poros, but Aston Martin is ahead of that Alfa Romeo, and it's P2 back for Aston Martin driver, but Wild Poros with the rest advantage on main straight. He's trying from the outside, Trent on the inside, and it looks like Aston Martin will be in front. Spanini, another victim of track limits. Oh, really close to contact between Trent and Wild Poros, and it looks like Trent will be in front. Yes, he is, and Blake Stevenson is looking for opportunity to make a move on Wild Poros as well, but Wild Poros is still fighting with Trent. And it looks like Wild Poros got the better entry to turn 7, and he is in front. Meanwhile, Blake Stevenson was side by side with Trent for a moment, but he stepped back to avoid the incident. Now running to turn 11, and another episode of this fight on the back straight between turns 13 and 14. It looks like Trent with way better run through turns 12 and 14, and he will be closing the gap really rapidly to Wild Poros on P2, and he's going to the inside. Blake Stevenson was considering a move over there, and look at this, Blake Stevenson is overtaking Wild Poros, so Wild Poros is losing 2 positions within 1 corner. Obviously he will get the rest advantage on the main straight, but I do believe it won't be enough to overtake Blake Stevens, re-overtake Blake Stevenson with that DRS on Trent. Mack became a third victim of track limits. Aston Martin driver on P19, Matteo close to Basgott, and it looks like, is it Arrow made a mistake, or is it Big Mama Frank? It was Big Mama Frank who made a mistake at the exit of turn 14 and spun himself around. Matteo is fighting with Basgott. That's battle for position 7, and Merck was close to make a move on the Alpine driver as well. Mark is retiring from the session in pit lane, so everything within the rules. White Horse is starting to losing the gap to Trent and Blake Stevenson. Now is Trent able to catch up to Chap Tucker? When they cross the line, he will have 4 laps to do this. Chap Tucker is going through turn 16, and he is about to start lap 25 of this race. Spanini fighting with its right for P11, and it looks like Alpine driver is in front. And now this trio fighting for positions 2, 3, and 4. Trent still in front. Blake Stevenson was close, but not close enough. White Horse is still somehow within DRS range on this gentleman's. Jack Fletcher is dropping the pace a lot. Matteo will be hunting Nick Hamrick for P6. Basgat is really close to them, so is Merck. John Ranger actually not closing up to those 4. So it will be rough race for Mercedes driver, especially that he had some kind of incident or mistake. He was around. He had to go through the field twice, and now John Ranger is actually closing the gap a lot. The gentleman's in front of him, and it looks like he will have the DRS, so he is in the party for P6. Blake Stevenson and Trent H, and it looks like Blake Stevenson is in front. So P2 for McLaren driver, and Chap Tucker looks like to be safe. Matteo is overtaking Nick Hamrick, so P5 and P6 currently for Ferrari team. And Blake Stevenson about 4 seconds behind the race leader. 3 laps to go. Trent is dropping a pace. Stevenson a bit. Stevenson on mediums. And they are actually with a bit better conditions comparing to softs of Trent. Nick Hamrick will be looking for a chance to overtake Matteo and go back for P6, but behind him there's Basgat, there's Merck, and there is John Ranger. All of them are hungry for higher positions, so he needs to be aware on his back as well. And it looks like Nick Hamrick is actually starting to dropping a pace to Matteo. Blake Stevenson is closing, but I do believe he's closing way too slow to pull a pressure on Chap Tucker. So Chap Tucker, if nothing unexpected happened, is going for a race win. Trent H is following with toe on Blake Stevenson, but he's way too far back to make a move. White Horse is not able to close into this pair on the round 2, turn 14. We started lap 27 of 28. Spanini fighting with its right for once again, and it's Spanini in front, but he got the penalty, and its right is going too deep to turn 14 and losing positions to combined YouTuber as well. Matteo really trying to defend for his life with that P6. Combined YouTuber is overtaking Spanini. John Ranger is really closing. He's closing. He was too far to make a move in the braking zone to turn 6, but now on the exit, oh, he's making a mistake. Just too impatient with throttle. Lucky for him, Merck did a tiny mistake as well, and he is able to keep within that DRS range. Well, let's back to this fight for P2. Another episode of this battle. Trent is starting to dropping pace to Stevenson. So softs are stopping to work. Apologies for that. Once again, and Trent was too far. We've seen smoke. I do believe that was gentle lockup from Blake Stevenson. And now we just started last lap of the race. Chap Tucker over 3 seconds advantage on Blake Stevenson, Trent, and Wild Poros. Those three guys are fighting for P2 and P3. Labib is overtaking Enrique McNewby. That's battle for P15. Merck really close behind Basgat, but he can feel a breath of John Ranger close behind him. Mateo is defending against Nick Hamrick. So it's now all about battery, who have more battery in this pack. Chaptucker is exiting turn 13 and 3 more chances to go to take a checkered flag for the and win the Chinese Grand Prix. Trent lost the DRS on Blake Stevenson, so he will be under huge pressure from Wild Poros. Wild Poros struggling with battery. Actually, he was using and a huge lockup. Wild Poros went way too deep, and Trent is taking that position, but Chaptucker is taking the checkered flag to win the Chinese Grand Prix. Blake Stevenson finishing second, behind them Trent and Wild Poros on P3 and P4. Jack Fletcher on P5, Nick Hamrick and Mateo P6, P7, Basgott on P8, John Ranger on P9, Merck dropping because of time penalty for P10. Combined YouTuber, it's right. Spanini, who is losing positions to Sway because of time penalty. We are waiting for Labib to cross the line. Labib is crossing the line as driver number 15 of tonight's evening. Enrique McNewby crossing the line as 16th. Steven Alvarez will be finishing in front of Big Mama Frank. Already crossed the line just in front of Jack Fletcher. So Big Mama Frank was the last driver to finish this race. Nick Hamrick chosen as the driver of the day by the game. And I have to say I can agree. I could agree for that, but huge shootout for Chap Tucker and Blake Stevenson. Top 2 podium sitters at the end of this race. Now let's switch the scene and try to invite those boys for interviews.
Okay, so it looks like due to technical issues and not enough power for me, we won't have interviews tonight. Apologies for that. Uh, really intense. Oh, apologies. We actually have Chaptaker over here. So is Blake, so never mind. Forget what I say. Let's wait for a moment for Trent. Okay, so no Trent for here. Let's try to drag Blake. Good evening, Blake. Trent didn't join us tonight for now, so uh, first of all, congratulations for your podium spot. Really intense race and intense battle, especially at last phase of the race when you had to defend against Trent and White Forest. But please guide us through your race. Yes, Chaptaker managed to run away quite a lot, and because of that quite intense battle, you were unable to chase him. Uh, Once again, congratulations for your podium spot. But before you go, I need to ask you, what is your opinion about the last race of this season? Next week, we are driving at Silverstone. So, thank you for joining us and good luck next week at Silverstone. And we have with us our race winner, Chaptaker. Stunning race for you. To be honest, when I noticed that you started on soft compound, I was a bit worried about your strategy, but it worked perfectly fine, especially that drivers behind you were too busy fighting each other to chase you. Okay, and your thoughts about upcoming race at Silverstone? Okay, so thank you for joining us tonight. We wish you best luck next week. And now we will jump to P3 taker, Trent.
Good evening, Trent. So you came on the last podium spot. Great performance for you. I can imagine that after your great quali, you could expect a bit more from this race, but still P3 is a great result for you. So please guide us through your race. Yes, I mean the medium soft works for you way better than soft to mediums from Wild Wars. So good, good for you. And before you go, any thoughts about the upcoming race on Silverstone? Yes, indeed. I like the race ethic over here as well. Trent, once again, congratulations on your podium spot, and thank you for joining us tonight. And we will see you tomorrow with John Ranger for Division 1 race, and next week hope with Nathan on Camps Booth for season finale at Silverstone. Hope you enjoyed this race and have a great evening. Good night.